coding. At the previous lesson, we installed software, so I assume it is already installed. It's important to have practical experience, and many things can be learned as we go. So today is introduction into basic Java features. I assume that you already know how to do loops, ifs, and it is 100% the same as in C#. So in this case, there are other features that are different, obviously, but basic things are the same. Also, I assume that you're familiar with what is object, what is class, although declarations of some of the things looks different. But today we will just learn how to apply these things in Java. And also we will look into testing. Maybe you're familiar, maybe not, with automatic testing concept. Today you will see how it works. So at the previous lesson, we installed IntelliJ IDEA Ultimate, and I asked it to install specifically Ultimate because it has support of web-based programming, and free edition doesn't. So for this reason, it is necessary to install Ultimate. And also, at the previous lesson, we created basic project like hello Java, whatever. And today we will create it again from scratch. So hopefully that repetition helps. And because we did it close to end of the lesson, so it's kind of reminder of it. And today we will have a similar project done together. If something doesn't fit, within 2 hours, I will finish it at home and explain what I added at the next lesson. Today we will also use Git version control system together with it. So we will learn how to use IDE with Git. And also how to do automatic testing with project. So IntelliJ IDEA Ultimate. So let's open that and create project. At the previous lesson, we created simple project, and I said there are several options to create Java project. And there are also several options to create web-based project. We will reach this point at the next lesson. Not next week for sure, maybe not next lesson, but next week for sure. Today we will just have a hands-on introduction into Java language features. So, new project. At the previous lesson, we learned that to create Java project that doesn't have web components, it is command line project or common console interface project. We click Java, and we need to select the place where we want to keep it, like either create folder or select existing folder. So projects. I created the have project folder for that. No, I better create one. So it is to keep it separate from another section, because in another section I also will create it from scratch. So it is new folder. Where is that new folder? Create and open, so I have it here, and we need to give it a name, and today project will be kind of dice rolling, so let's call it DiceGame. Dice game project. And please notice that it will create folder in this folder, so it's this. We don't need to retype it. But when we clone project from GitHub, we will have to make sure that folder is here because it does not add it. You have to specify where to clone. Next, specification of Java version is not important at this moment because we will use just basic Java. But when we will use web programming using Spring Boot, it is a good idea to stick to 17 because this is recommended version. It won't necessarily compile with other things. People tell that it compiles with 21, but yeah, it's taking a risk. They recommend 17. Also, there are options to select build system. This is specific to IntelliJ, so don't use it because it's not transferable skill. Maven, it's slightly older, Gradle, slightly younger system. These two systems use exactly the same library from exactly the same place on web, so it is source code compatible. So you can easily convert from one to another one. There are also, I select Gradle because it is newest and kind of common. This is older, but it will probably never die because so much software is already using it. Settings files for this build system are in completely different format. Maven is using XML. In that file will be called pom.xml file, project object model, something like this, pom.xml. Gradle is using either Kotlin or Groovy language. At the previous lesson, I was kind of in doubt to select Kotlin or Gradle or Groovy. I selected Kotlin in another section, and I got some malfunctioning. I don't know if it's related to Kotlin or whatever. In another section, I selected Groovy, and I didn't have this malfunctioning. Groovy is currently the most common choice, and this is the newest. It's probably like showed up 2 years ago or something like this. So I will stick to Groovy. Since it's the previous lesson, it will Kotlin option malfunction, so I will stick to Groovy. And in this course, I will stick into Groovy. It doesn't matter if it is web project or pure Java project, I will stick to Groovy, unless it is Angular. Angular has own system. Angular, it's totally different. I mean, for Java-based project, I will stick to Groovy because it's most common. So in advanced settings, I keep a wrapper because it will help like stay compatible between different computers. You don't have to add separate additional package to it. In your assignments, I will ask you to use your login name as part of package. One of the reasons, because the Gradles, when project is built, some files may be kept outside of the project by the build system. And since I'm building your projects on the same computer, I don't want to get into issues. I like whatever incompatible. Another reason, it's like primitive way to make cheating more complicated, because students who cheat, they're not brilliant, they don't know how to rename things. So in your assignments, I will ask you to use login name as part of it, like Sheridan.your login name. But now it doesn't matter. And again, third part that we add, it is optional, but definitely if you add it, stay consistent. Do not keep hello world all the time. So I will call it DiceGame. It will initialize Git repository right away. So if Git is installed on your laptop, it will find it and it will initialize. It will connect it to your project. That's it. Questions? No? So create project. And let's wait a little bit. It says set up, if it shows up need to set up SDK, like it was here, maybe you need to wait a little bit and you see it resolve it. And if it doesn't resolve itself, click on set up SDK and select what SDK you use, like 17 preferably or something else. Today it's not important. So at the previous lesson, we stopped it about here. And I said that you can avoid typing system dot in front of it if you import out. And when I started to import it, it didn't do automatically for me. I had to close it and open it again. It worked. And hopefully it doesn't do it now. Yeah. OK. So this is what I did. I removed system dot, and I selected import statically system out. What happens here? In Java, you cannot have a function outside of an object or class. It's not allowed. So this println, it's a function, and out it's an object. So we call a method of an object out. But this object is stored inside of the class as a property, like value, not property, value, and it is static. It means it is shared between all objects created from this class. It means you can refer to this by class name. You don't need to create an object in order to get out object. So this is a class name dot out, and out is static. So this is why we can use class name to refer to object, because it is static, it's shared. You don't have to create object. Internally, every class has one object inside, call it class. So every class has already object in it, so call it class. And we call a println method of out. So if you click run, it will run current file. If you click this, it will also run it, but it will also add entry here. Last thing that you run it. And if you click run button elsewhere, it will add additional entry. This way you can have more than one entry and you will select what you want to run. So if you click run, again, you have current file and vault. When you click this or this, you see it added main. Later when we add more files in it, it is handy because main, we can run main without having this in front of us. So consider doing that. When you have web project, it's already there. You don't have to worry about it. What do we have here? We have public static void. Public means available from outside. So obviously out is also public in system. Otherwise, how would you reach it? Public means available from outside of the class. Static, again, means you don't need to create an object in order to access static field. So main can be accessed without creating object from this main function, without creating object from main class. And void means does not return any value. So main, if some class has public static void main, you can run it by running class. You can have as many classes with public static void main as you want. And this is the reason why when we run it from command line, we have to specify which class to run. So Java may have several classes with main, it's just fine. What is this part? This is array parameter of a method that has array a parameter, which is array of strings. When we run program from command line, we can specify parameters. Typically, like input file name, output file name, something like this. And those parameters are given to main as array. So you can process this array and use it inside. You can remove it and leave it empty, parentheses, it will still work. Or remove it and put void in parentheses, which means nothing inside will also work. Or easiest just to keep it as it is. Questions? Also, let's do some system, another hello world. So since it's not hello world program, so let's say DiceGame. So hello DiceGame. Hello DiceGame, so run hello DiceGame, obviously. Now let's do something more interesting, like random number generation, and do it like first brute force without using random class. There is Java comes with random for random class, call it use it for random number generation. There is also secure random, makes it more random. Yes. I just had a question about the installment. You need to install IntelliJ IDEA Ultimate.
Yeah, yeah.
Go with default.
One of the options I just wanted to ask you a question about. Sorry about that.
Uh-huh.
It's just this option.
Keep it default. Next. Mm-hmm. It will ask you to register, but you can select free copy, like free version. It will be 30 days, but you register as a student, instructions on slides, your free time, and after this it will work for 1 year and renewable every year through email. Okay. Right, so let's declare some variable and call it rand, whatever. You know how to declare variable in Java. Declaration starts with either class name or type, which could be class, could be primitive type. Java has primitive types and objects. So if you say int rand, you declare a variable primitive type. It means it's not an object. You cannot call methods on it. You cannot store it in a list or in hash maps. In Java, we can store only objects in generics like hash maps, lists. Whatever. Generics, it's similar to template in C++. But in C++, it is implemented differently. This is why you can store primitive types there. But in C#, everything is an object. This is why you can store objects in it. In C#, int is an object, not primitive type. If you declare a variable as integer, this is also valid. This is object. This object will be immutable. It means you cannot change the value of this object, but when you add them, system will create new objects. So slightly slower, but who cares? It's not a big deal. Difference is that you can put this inside of lists, inside of hash maps. Okay. So bottom row, if you don't need object features of primitive type, of integers or double, just use primitive type. It's easier. Most examples, not easier, just use it. Most of textbooks use integer instead of int only if you need to access object features of it. So int. In Java, every statement should end with semicolon. Some languages don't require it. You could put next line, but in Java it is required. So semicolons are required in Java, like here you see. If you start it with final, it means you can assign it only once. Second time you cannot assign it. So it is like const. So final, it is a feature of Java language. Like in other languages, it is keyword is called const. A final keyword is used in different contexts differently. If it is in front of the variable, it means const. If it is in front of the method, it means you cannot override it. If it is in front of the class, also you cannot override. You cannot inherit from it. So again, it's multiple use, and it really depends where you use it. So rand. Let's assign some random value. You see, IntelliJ tries to help, and in many cases it's really helpful. In some cases it's not. So I want to do not this. I want to do brute force. How to just because I want to. So it helped me. It remembers my previous choices. When you can log in into, you can connect your Google account, so it will remember your previous choices by storing somewhere on Google Cloud. So what did they do? This is typecast. In Java, if you put parentheses and name of the class, and the name of the type, it will try to typecast it. math.random will provide a floating point, like double precision, times between 0 and 1, 1 is not included. Times 6, it will be between 0 and 6, 6 not included because 1 wasn't included. Plus 1, it will be between 1 and 7, but 7 is not included. I drop it fractional part, it will be between 1 and 6. So, yes?
You're adding 1.
1 and 6. So it is 2 times 1. You're right. So if I do so, I shouldn't put 1 here. Okay? And so you're right. It is adding 2 twice. Okay? So this is supposed to be run. So let's. We will not see what happens unless we print it. So it tries to help me right out. Println run. Print rand, and there is no template in templates that's provided in some languages like C# and JavaScript. In Java, so you have to join strings or use formatting. There are 2 choices. Formatting is in Java has similar syntax to C formatting. Remember, in C you have printf, where you can do %d, %f in it. You can use similar thing to format in Java, but easiest is to use plus to join strings. So random value, and I say join strings. Here it is. Okay. So let's run this project and see random value 1, random value 3, random value 2. Okay. So let's do it in a loop. Okay. So let's do it in loop. There are 3 kinds of loops in Java. 4 kinds of loops. One, it is for loop, similar to C# for loop. Do while and while. Do while, also similar to C#, is guaranteed to repeat it at least once because it is checking in the end of repetition. So it will repeat it at least once. Do while. A while has condition in it, and it will run the loop till it's true. And for loop, the most common, has initialization, condition, and increment. All of it is 100% the same as in C#. There is also, for each loop, which is not applicable here, it is used to go through iteratable things like arrays, lists. It takes one at a time. That loop looks differently from C#. Keyword is different. In C# it is in Java it is column or something like this. That is different from C#. Other loops are the same. Okay. So let's do for loop since it's the most common. For int I starting from 0, I less than 10, this will guarantee 10 repetitions, right? Less than 10, first a repetition is 0, second is, okay. Come in here. So let's see. In right range, right? Okay. So what if we want to say random value 1, random value 2, random value 3, something like this, random value 10? So let's try to do that. String format string format. This will create a string output. How to do? Let's try out printf if it exists. I don't remember. Out printf. You see string format and this. You can create, and you see it's tried to help, but I wasn't smart. I clicked on it and it didn't. Okay. Tab. Okay. So it will do random value this, right? And if we want to do additional piece, we do another D. It will be random value 1 equal to this. And obviously, I need to have this value to put into the first place, right? So I will use I. So it will insert it in the first D, and second will go into the second D. I will get rid of this thing, and I want to do it from less equal to 10. So starting with 1 and ending with 10. So it will be random value 1. Okay, let's see. Let's see if idea worked. Yay, it did. Right? So this is kind of brute force approach, playing, you see it works. And now let's declare class dice and wrap this functionality inside of dice. In this case, you know, dice is a funny word. You can 1 dice, 2 dice, 3 dice. It's plural, but a plural and single at the same time. Some people say die is single, but I will use dice as 1 in this case. So let's declare some class dice, and I want to create package just to show that I'm creating, just to show that how to create package. Right click, new, and I call package. And I need to provide a name. As you see, a package name goes as word.word.word.word, and in Java, packages are matching folders. So on the hard drive, it will create extra folder for it. And I call it model. Model means model of reality, essentially, business logic of it. Model. And as you see, it shows it here, but it's actually chained. A model. How to add class to package? You right-click package, and say new Java class. And you say dice. Okay, dice. And what happens here? It's tell that do you want to add this to a version control system? Yeah, because it's a new file and it is source code, so source control system. I want to add it. Before I click it add, you saw this in red or brick color. It means Git version control system sees this file but doesn't know how to deal with it. Green means it's a new file before commit. It was created, but we didn't commit it yet. Blue means it was committed, but change it after commit. Black means it was committed, but wasn't changed after commit. This is green because we didn't commit anything yet. So next step we will do commit. But first, let's create the class, and after this we'll commit it, say created dice class. So since this will be object and it is dice, we need to store some value that which will be on top of the dice. Okay? So let's create value. If we say just int value, this variable will be scoped to package. It means kind of private for main because this lives in different package. But if you create another class here, it will be visible to that. If you say private, it will be only visible inside of the class. If you say public, everyone can see it. So I would say private and say now it is visible only inside of the class. It means I cannot see it outside of it, and if I want to access it, I need to provide some means of access. Java does not have properties. Properties in Java are imitated with set and get methods. When you create set and get method for a value, you can access it, and you can obviously change it, right? But you cannot refer to it as a property. So you cannot use dot value. You have to call get value. But inside of template in web environment, it is understood as property. You can call dot value, and it will call get method. So Java is not compact language, but it is compensated with tools. So IDE can generate code for you, so you don't have to type it. So in this case, we definitely need setter and getter, at least getter, right? So generate, and I say setter and getter and setter for this value, and I say OK. So I have get and set. And next, definitely we need to check it before we send. Before we set, probably to check for range, because if it has dice between 1 and 6, we shouldn't allow it to set 7. So let's put if around it and say if value less than 1 and more than 6. Why is that? Throw exception, probably. It wants me to throw exception if it is in this range. Right? Otherwise, it will call this. Please notice that this value is not the same as this. This dot is referring to this part. And value without dot is referring to parameter. Okay. So if you use different words, you don't have to write this dot in front of it. The same rule as C#. Some languages are funny, they always require this dot, like JavaScript. If you have a property in class, it always requires this dot, right? No, not in Java. So rule is like in C#. So let's throw exception, throw new illegal argument exception, must be between. Okay, this is helping. Okay. Java has a illegal argument exception used for this purpose, so it will throw it. Okay, exception if we try to assign out of the range. Okay. Get value will get it, and since it's dice, we need to have some roll method to update the dice, right? And we also need to initialize it. By default, it will be already something, but I guess it will be 0 by default. So it's not good. Yes?
Should the setting of the value after the if condition, should that be in an else? Or will it end the method?
Yeah. If it doesn't throw, it goes here. So it can be inside of else, but it doesn't really matter. Okay. If it throw exception, it will not reach this point. Okay. Yes? Right click, generate, generate, getter and setter. Mm-hmm. So again, a Java language is not compact at all, but IDE helps you to go through steps. Yes?
Does the method have to throw an argument or throw an exception? Or does it not have to throw an exception because it's being
it's my design decision, essentially. You can decide not to do anything if it's out of the range, for example.
I mean, like the method itself, would you have to write throws exception?
Oh, no, you don't have to. Okay. In Java, there are two kinds of exceptions. One it is called checked, one is not. The one which is checked, you have to say throws exception. In this case, it's not checked, so you don't have to say it. So checked exceptions are a kind of huge annoyance of Java. You have to say throw exception or catch it explicitly. In this case, it's not checked exception, so we don't have to deal with throws exception. Okay. Next, by default, it will be initialized to some value. I suspect it will be 0, which is not good. So let's initialize it to something that makes sense, like this. Or we can declare constant and say init value. It's another option. This will be initial value. So how to declare constant? If you want to declare constant, you have to declare it inside of some class. There's no option to do it outside of the class. And in this case, it makes sense to declare this inside of it. And since it's constant, we can make it public. Who cares? Because people outside cannot change it because it's constant. And init value will probably be shared between different dice, so we can make it static. So we can create it public, static, and since it's constant, it will be final. Public, static, final. IDE may try to reorder, like final, public, static. And if it says, we will say agree. Okay. So public, static, final, and say dice size. I don't want dice size, but I will create tab and I will rename it to init value. Init value and say it's 1. Init value and I say it's 1. And in this case, I assign it to init value. Okay. So it's still not dice because we need some random number generation. Okay. So let's create roll method that will assign that logic that we already have. Right. So we can create method that returns value or doesn't return value. If it will be returned value, it will be here like this, int. If it doesn't return value, this one, it will be void. Okay. So let's use the one that doesn't return. We already see how to make the one which is returning value, right? So let's create public void roll. Public void roll. Okay. And I need to update value, right? So value. As you see, when there is no ambiguity, you don't have to use this dot in front of it. And I have this logic, so I can copy this here. Copy and put it in here. Right? Init value, init. So let's check it inside of main. But before, let's commit it. Okay, let's commit it. How to do commit? You select commit. You select everything. It is always easy to select everything, and it's safe to select everything because project comes with file called gitignore, which is listing everything which is not doesn't make sense to commit. Then temporary files, compilation files, binary files. So for this reason, when you do commit, it's safe to select everything. We need to provide message of what we're committing, so we can see what happened there. So I'll say edit dice class. Edit dice class. When we click commit, commit contains problems for warnings. You can say ignore or you can see it. If it looks annoying, you can always disable code analysis. How to disable it? You can go here and analyze code, remove the check mark. So it will not analyze before you commit. Or you can check what was issue. You can check what was issue without committing anytime what you like. You go to code and inspect code. This is the same as analyze, and it will try to find issues in your project. Whole project, yes, analyze. Something in build file, let's ignore that. Something in main. What is in main? It says save random. I misspell it random, this is why. Okay, it's not big deal, but we need to, I will change it. This is not real programming issue. Why it is misspell it? I think it was even generated, right? Okay, so it's not big deal. I think it's already committed. So let's check, click Git and see. Yeah, it's already committed. So it's committed, and after this showed issues. If you commit it, but you want to fix it afterwards, you can repeat it with amend, and it will amend or change that commit. So, for example, you go to projects, you go to main and fix that stupid thing, and go here and click amend and amend commit, fix this. So you can amend last commit this way. Otherwise, you can't keep committing. Okay. So now, no, I didn't amend. I have to check it before I click amend. Now it is amended. We have to select things that we commit.
I think you forgot to recheck amend. You just committed it again.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. We can do reset. How to kill commit? We can do reset here or something like this. So I forgot to check event, so I recommitted. Not big deal. Okay. You can kill commits if you choose reset. There is option reset to here. Revert is not really killing commit. Revert is creating an additional commit on top of it, which is previous commit. Where is reset?
It's about revert.
About what? Oh yeah, reset current branch to here. This will kill commit above. Let's don't. Should we or shouldn't we? Okay, let's try. Makes it hard. Okay, let's do hard. Yeah, kill it. See, it's kill it. This. So can I do amend now? Let's see. Random amend. Selected this. Amend commit. Yes, it is amend. Yeah, learned something. Good. Revert is creating additional commit. It's not really killing it. It is just adding things on top of it, which is safer, obviously, because this way you can always revert. Now let's use our random object here. So we can create initialize object outside of the loop and call run in the loop, right? Run roll in the loop. So let's declare when you create a variable of the class, you type is the class name. So it is dice, right? And this is how to create object outside object using constructor. You already saw this manipulation when we created object from constructor of illegal argument exception. So we used new keyword for it. Similar to C#, right, and C++. So I created object, dice. and rand will be, first I need to call roll on it, right? So it will be dice roll, and then rand will be dice get value, right? Dice get value. There is no way to say dot value because Java does not have properties. Unless you make it public. When you make it public, it kind of defeats the purpose of it. Okay. What do you see? I call it constructor. Let's open class. There's no constructor. Java provides default constructor and use initialization of this variable inside of it. If you need additional constructors, you have to create them and also default one. Default is provided only when you don't have other constructors. This is last time it was like this when I checked. Okay, so there's no constructor at this moment, but it is created automatically. If we need to create additional constructors, we have to also create default. Last time it was like this. So let's run. Did work, right? So we check its dice class in main, right? So let's commit. Check it dice class. And when we commit, let's make sure, and go to Git, we will see two commits now. What do I want to show? When you click to commit, you will see this is in blue. Blue means existed before this commit and it was changed. When you double click on it, it will show what was changed. Okay. When I added dice, it inserted import dice automatically because it's different. It's a different package and it's not visible unless you import it. So in IntelliJ, automatically imported that package. So this is what we added. I replaced this line, right? So this line was replaced with these two. This was new, this was edited. So IntelliJ helps a lot to do trace. It works well with Git. You can see changes for each commit, so you can see your progress. You can also see changes before commit, so you can see what you have changed before committing. How to see changes before you commit? You will see it. Okay, so let's close this thing. Go to the code and add constructor. Okay, or go to dice and add constructor. Generate constructor. This constructor will have a parameter in it, which is okay. One related problem, which it is, this constructor doesn't exist. This is what I mean. If you create one constructor, you have to create this one as well. So we have to create that one. Generate a constructor, and you say and select none. Why it is still related problem? No, it's not related. Still related here. Okay. It's probably malfunctioning. So let's run it and see if it works. Yeah, it is rescan it, so now it's fine. Right? So what did I do? I did something naughty because I assigned it value without checking. So I could add check here by copy pasting this thing, or I could call setter. So setter is kind of better in this case because this way we avoid duplication of the code. So set value, and this value goes in it. Will it complain? Code analyzer may complain in this case, but it didn't. Okay. Why sometimes it is complaining? Because technically set method can be overridden by parent class, and in this case it goes around the settings set. But since it is private, a parent class would have to declare own value. It cannot assign this one. So in this case, when a code analyzer complains, it's a fake complaint. It's not real one. So set value, now it's probably OK, right? So this obviously is not used. Java does not have default values. I cannot say equal to init value as a parameter here. Java does not have default parameters of functions, unlike C#. C# does, right? So it's missing feature. How it is handled? We just declare a different thing. Okay. If we need to have functions with different number of parameters, we have to declare it several times. So if we need function with 2 parameters, function with 1 parameter, we have to declare it 2 times. And function with 2 parameters will call function with 1 parameter. No, vice versa. Function with 1 parameter will call function with 2 parameters. You just call it with one constant. Okay. Right. So what did we do? We added constructors, right? So how to see changes before you commit? You go here, commit, but you don't click commit. You click this double 2 times, and you see what was added. So useful thing, right? So now if we can commit it and say we added constructors, right? Edit constructors to Dice class. To Dice class. And you will see review code analysis. There is some other warning. Let's see what it is. Constructor Dice is never used. Okay, fine. This is kind of, who cares? Next. This is, you can also see changes if you double click on this. So it's not new. Next. What did we do so far? We did checking in the code of main. Yeah, it's a simple program. Yeah, why not? What if you have a large program and you want to have checks for many different things? And you have also a program itself that is doing something. You cannot do it inside of main because main part is supposed to be executing what is required from the program, not tests. So somehow you need to run tests elsewhere, not inside of main, because main is program itself. So for this reason, we can declare tests outside of the program. In this case, it makes sense to create tests for Dice class, because this is only logic for it, outside of the program, and run it. Okay. So in this case, what should I do? Like run this thing, right? So how to do it? By the way, in order to do testing, you have to use testing framework, and this testing framework is already included in the project by default, so we don't have to worry. So if we open build Gradle, we will see it included Jupyter. Jupyter, it is unit test, JUnit 5 testing. If you took Android course, you got familiar. There is JUnit 4 and 5. Android is not supporting 5, and most likely it won't support in several years. So because it's hard and long to switch. But our framework for web, Spring Boot, is supporting 5, and it is Jupyter. It is 5, so we're using what is by default. What is the difference? 5 has far more features. And some things are just renamed also. So how to use it? You open a dice. You open class where you want to generate tests. You right click on it and say generate. And when you click generate, you will see test. Okay? And you click test. And this will be called before each test. This will be called after each test. You also check things that you want to create tests for. It will create editable file. If you want additional things, you don't have to redo it. You can add type in there. Or if you run it again, it will not erase previous file. It will add things that are not checked. So get value. Should we check it? OK. Anyway, it's safe to check everything because by default, all the pass if it's empty. So set, there is no constructor check at this moment, but you can type it yourself. So, and click OK. Do you want to add it to give version control because it's generated test file? Yes, because it is source code. Test files as source code. Add. Where does it go? It goes here. Dice test. So before each test, after each test, there is also before all and after all, and that will be before all tests, not each separate, because you can run all tests together or separate ones. So makes sense, like test roll first, right? So let's go here and do this, testing roll, right? Copy and go here, paste, test roll. This will test it for crash. So if a program crashes, it fails. It will also print stuff on the screen when you run tests. It is also useful because if your program is large or web-based, you can run business logic without running other things. This way, you can check it without other stuff. For example, your program is crashing, but you don't know why it's crashing. So you check business logic separately. Like, if no crash, it's probably crashing because of GUI or something. So how to run tests? You can run tests separately or all together. All together is this one. When you click Run button, it will add options here. After this, you have to be careful what you run, either main or test, because if you have selection test at the top and expect main, it will run test. So be careful what you ask for, right? So we can run all, and it says what pass it, pass it, pass it. In this case, no crash means pass it. You can add conditions. For example, after all, you want to check if it is still within the range, right? So how to do? You use assert. Assert true, right? And in this case, condition. There is also assert equal. In this case, if it is roll, you don't know it's supposed to be equal, right? So it has to be assert true. There is also other asserts. You see, for arrays, I think it's also assert. A second, let's roll it. Yeah, there is no, there's assert all, assert true. So let's say assert true. Okay, but definitely not this one. I will say dice value supposed to be less or equal 6, right? Less or equal 6. Okay, and also I need another assert, more or equal 1, right? Copy. paste more or equal 1. Now let's run it. And you see it's created dice test entry. So and now you have two option, main or dice test. You can click run there or click run this. Okay, everything is passed, including roll. Okay, how it fails? Let's make it fail on purpose. This is obviously fails, right? Okay. To see if fails. See test failed, and it shows which failed. You can also add additional information, so it's not just roll. You can add message and call it display name. And testing roll. Okay, not very informative because it's already roll, but this is informative how to display message. So let's run it. You see testing roll. Okay. We'll say. So what do we check? Ranges. Check ranges after. Check range after roll. Yeah. Check range after roll. Okay. Check range after roll. This is failed, and you see it's underlined, and obviously it is artificially failed. It shouldn't be. So we can add more things, and additionally, there is some piece called repeated test. A repeated test, it is a feature of JUnit 5, and so you don't have to create a loop inside. How to do it? You can do this add repeated test and number of repetitions, for example, 2. So it will be a loop, and this is also repeated twice. When you say repeated test, you don't write test on it. Okay. So it will run this part also in the repeated test, but it will repeat the things 2 times. So let's see. It goes up to 10, and again up to 10. So this is repeated test. Before each, you can print something like out println, and put starting test. This way, it will separate tests in between. Starting test. Okay. You can also initialize thing, like you declare variable dice outside of it as a property of test class, and you call constructor. So before each test, it will assign this value. Sometimes things do need to throw exception, and in this case, it should throw exception if we assign wrong value outside of the range. In this case, we should check that it is throwing exception. Okay, so let's first check that it is true when we set it is actually that value. So declare dice new dice, then dice not roll but dice set value, and for example 5. And assert equals expected 5, get dice value is supposed to be 5. So this is not throwing exception. Okay, I'm just checking that setter is working. So I added additional test. So should I get some display name? check set value, right? Check set value. Next, how to check that it is throwing exception? We need to give something outside of the range, and in this case, we expect exception, right? So dice set value, and let's say 0 outside of the range. And it has to be assert throws because we expect throwing exception. Assert throws you see expected type what is thrown and executable that will throw exception and message inside of exception. So we can even check message inside of exception that is matching. Okay. So let's try this one. It should throw. Okay, it's smart. Okay. Argument exception class, it remembers what I did last year. Because I have, I'm not the first time doing it, right? It remembers, remember that I said it's connected to my Google account. And so it's not with 0, it is with -1, but it doesn't really matter. So we can say 0 here. Okay. So this code will throw exception. If it is more than one line, you can put curly braces around it and put more than one line of the code. Okay. So set value dice. Okay, so let's run. Check set value, so it did throw exception, so it passed it. If it wouldn't throw it, it will fail. So let's put 1 and see how it fails, because in this case it won't throw exception. So check set value failed. Which failed? It didn't throw exception. Okay. So let's put it 0. Okay. So this will not fail because we already tried. So this is how to check that code is indeed throwing exception. Assert throws. Get values, there's no point to check. It's always, by the way, we already checked it here, right? It is safe to delete things and add things. There is also parameterized test when you can you can repeat test. You can repeat test with different values. For example, it makes sense to move throws out inside of repeated test and check it, for example, with with 0 and with 7. So it will throw exception with 0 and with 7. Okay. So let's do that. By the way, in your naming convention for Java, we learned that we can use underscore, and underscore, it is condition, right? So I want to move this into different thing, and in this case, it will be also test set value, but different value, right? So we can set condition. So how to do it? I say this is legal value. Okay. And I will copy this and I paste it here, and I say this is illegal value. Right? Illegal value. Legal value set legal value and set illegal value. Illegal value. And in this case, I need to delete this part and this. Okay. Since I want to repeat it with two different values, I better set it as parameterize the test because it will be 2 parameters. Parameterize the test, and I forgot. I have to look it up. Parameterize the test, then, okay. Parameterize the test, and I need to say kind of template what it is. And say setting, and this will be the value what I'm trying to set, setting. And this will be, 1 second, parameterize the test. It's called name. So this parameter is name. Setting, and it will be value that I'm about to set. And I need to provide source for this. So it is a value source. Value source, and int, I will try 0 and 7 because it's for illegal value. Check illegal value, value source, and this would be parameter, this one. So I need to give it as int, as value here, int value, and this value is set here. In both cases, it should throw exception. So this is the source of parameter. This is how it will be displayed. And this is also displayed. It's kind of repeating. So it doesn't have to be both. Let's see how it shows. Set illegal value. Setting 0, setting 7. Makes sense, right? Setting 0, starting test. It didn't throw, so it just it did throw exception, so it is passed. Starting 0, starting 7. So I think this already whole range of things that we can use. Obviously, for parameter doesn't have to be int. If it's not int, it is doubles, whatever. So as you see, it is extremely powerful system. Please use it, especially when you have a GUI. You can test things outside of the GUI. So this is extremely handy. What is not so good here? First, let's commit. Edit automated tests. So commit, edit. JUnit tests, right? JUnit tests. What is not so good? We have a random value directly in the tests, which is kind of okay, but not okay. Because what if range fails? Range check, where it is, repeated test. You repeat second time and it doesn't fail, because it's random. You cannot, if it fails once in a while, it is not really a great thing. It has to be, tests should be reproducible. So how to go around? We can take dependency outside of the class and make it dependent on random class. Java provides random class, and random class has an option, generate with seed. If you provide seed, it will be always the same sequence. So if you call constructor random class with seed, it will be kind of random, but each time the same sequence. So it is reproducible random. So in this case, you have to we have to edit Dice class and create private variable, which is random object, given by. Please notice that these tests, these functions inside of test class are neither public nor private. They default. This is what I mean. Scope is package. It means visible for everything inside of the package, not visible outside, which is fine with it. So by default, it generates neither public nor private. Its scope is public. Default scope is package. So these setup and tear down can be also used to initialize variables. For example, we can initialize dice and use it inside of every function. So let's do that. For example, here and declare this piece, initialize this in setup. And like this. So dice, and before each test, it will create new one. So we can delete this piece, set. We can delete this one, right? So initialization of this dice is done inside of setup now. So let's run. And it is passed, right? But it's fine. Okay. So what did I do? Init dice in setup. Okay. And commit. So it's not just to-do message. You can initialize variables and reuse them. And this is called before each of them, not before all. So it is repeated. So fresh dice each time. Next, let's make these dice such way that if we need to have repeatable tests, we can have them. So how to imitate it? We need to have a parameter which is random object. And if this random object is initialized with seed, it will be the same reproducible sequence. It means we need a constructor that has a random object as a parameter, and we need to store that value somewhere here, right? Private random, not here, right? Because we need to provide this dependency from outside. Otherwise, we cannot call constructor from outside. Right? So I delete this piece. And we need to have a constructor with that parameter. So what's the optimal way of dealing with it? Let's figure it out. So generate constructor. And let's make constructor with 2. So initialize value, initialize random. And let's create another constructor with just random that will call init. Initialize this with the init value, with this constant. Right? So another constructor, generate constructor with just one random, and init will be initialized from this one. Okay? And this is not end of the story, because this piece is not initialized if we call this, right? So we have to initialize random here. Okay. So value and random, just random, value initialize it here, which is fine, but we have to call constructor of random in here. Okay, we use random object, but we don't use it actually to generate random numbers. So we have to call it here, right? So how to call it? Random. Next thing, you see, initial value and bound. Bound is not included, means it has to be 7. Initial value is included. So it is between 1 and 7. Okay. How to check it? We already have test, right? So we can repeat test, and if it is testing, it's fine. Okay. So let's run test and see if it passes. Oops, what did I do? Okay. I need to close this thing. I forgot how to close it. Close annotations. Okay. Tests pass it. Yeah. Okay. See how tests are easy. You set test, expected behavior. You change it class quite drastically, right? And it's still passing, so it's fine. So this is the beauty of having automatic tests. And now let's make tests reproducible. How to do it? You need to initialize this with seed. Right? By the way, let's see that it's not reproducible now. Repeated tests. 5, 6, 2, blah, blah, blah. 3, 5, 6, 2, right? So let's start. 5, 6, 6. See, it's not reproducible. Let's initialize it with seed and run it, crash it. Because it's too, I need to provide random, new random, okay, random number generator as parameter. Yes?
I think in the constructor where you have the initial value, initialize random.
Yeah.
So that's why I did it.
Yeah, because it expects object random instead of number.
But in the other constructor that has the initial value, it doesn't initialize random.
Yeah, probably yes. Okay, let's see. This is why it's crashed. You're right. You're right. So the one that has value, where it is? Yeah, it doesn't initialize random. You're right. This is why it's crashed. It's the reason. So I need this. So essentially, I need to call this constructor, right? Or copy this code. Copying code is not a great idea. I need to call constructor. So this is how to call constructor inside of another constructor. This. Okay. So let's go back to test and remove that piece and see that now it's fine. So you're absolutely right. Yeah. So let's see. Pass it. Yeah, you're right. Okay. So copy pasting pieces of the code is not a great idea if you can avoid it. The reason is that if you copy paste, you edit in one place, you may forget to edit in another place. So this is how to call constructor inside of another constructor. You use keyword this. All right. So now let's make test reproducible. So I'm going to dice test, and in this case, I'm passing a new random with seed, like for example 2. So let's run it. 513, 513, because in repeated test it's set up as code again. And I will call it again and again, 513. Okay. So in this case, repeated test is not really repeating because it is the same, right? But again, you got the idea. So what time? We have like 5 minutes before end of the class. So what else is interesting? Now let's use interface. So and it will be last 5 minutes. We have a dice, and let's declare interface, call it like rollable, for example, and it is every class that contains method roll. Okay, and in this case, we can use a rollable interface elsewhere as dependency. Right? For example, in DiceGame, any rollable can be used to roll. Right? So, how to do it? Right-click on it, say extract interface. Extract interface. Where is that? Refactor. Extract interface. Interface name rollable, for example. And what to include? Roll. Right? So a refactor, interface, exact interface from, package model, a refactor, and add it to source control. Okay. Add file to Git, add. So rollable. It is spell it right, but it's not in dictionary. This is why it's rollable. Is it spell it right? I think it is. So interface, it doesn't have a public in front of it. By default, everything is public as interface because it's supposed to be visible. It's a contract. Then in Dice, implements rollable. Keyword is implements in front of interfaces. If you inherit from a class, it will be extends. So this is really different from C#. In C#, it is just the same column and comma separated stuff, right? In Java, implements is in front of interfaces, extends is in front of classes. If you have both, it will be extend something, implement something. Okay. So let's make sure it's still working. So I run tests. Okay. Pass it. I wonder why it is in yellow. Make random final. Final means constant, and it figured it out that it is initialized from the constructor. It's not changed. So final, it's constant, initialized from constructor or immediately. Okay. Right. So let's commit. And what did we do? Extracted interface. Right. And what else? Use it random class. So technically it should be 2 commits, but I missed 1 commit. So let's commit it now and say use it random class, random, and extracted rollable. Commit. Right? So I will push it to GitHub and I will provide link.